Every crime leaves a trail. Every clue tells a story. And every truth demands to be uncovered.
Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. We're looking at a really fast-moving news story involving an attack in London and the escalating national implications that have followed. It's a complex situation, for sure, but we're going to rely strictly on verified reporting to break down exactly what happened and, more importantly, why it matters to all of us. To really wrap our heads around the full scope of this, we'll take a micro to macro approach. We'll start with the attack in Golders Green, look at the victims and the suspect, zoom out to a recent pattern of escalation, and finally check out the broader national security response. So, starting with part 1, the attack in Golders Green, and a timeline of the events. The timeline here is incredibly rapid, and it actually kicks off a bit earlier than you might think. At 8:50 a.m., police were called to an altercation over in Southwark, where a suspect armed with a knife reportedly clashed with a local. Fast forward a couple of hours to 11:15 a.m., and CCTV catches our suspect on Highfield Avenue in Golders Green, actively chasing a man. Literally 1 minute later, at 11:16, police are responding to reports of a stabbing. And then, at 11:20, more CCTV footage captures the suspect repeatedly attacking a man at a bus stop, actually pushing him right into the road. Now, the police intervention was both swift and intense. Body-worn camera footage that's been verified by the BBC shows officers confronting the suspect, repeatedly yelling at him to drop the knife. The Met Police Commissioner actually noted that the man refused to show his hands and was clearly still a threat. So officers deployed a taser, brought him to the ground, detained him, and then, right there on the scene, immediately began administering CPR before he was rushed to the hospital. Moving to Section 2, the victims and the suspect. Let's look at the individuals involved here. On one side of this, we have 2 Jewish men who were the victims of the attack. 34-year-old Shlomo Rand received serious stab wounds, but thankfully has already been discharged. The second victim, 76-year-old Moshe Shine, suffered even more serious injuries, but the good news is he remains in a stable condition and doctors are optimistic he'll make a full recovery. On the other side, the suspect is 45-year-old Essa Suleiman. He's a British national born in Somalia who came to the UK lawfully as a kid. Right now, he's been arrested on suspicion of attempted murder. It is absolutely crucial to humanize the data we're looking at. Speaking from his hospital bed, Shlomo Rand talked about the sheer terror of the attacker just walking up and stabbing him in the chest while he was completely minding his own business. He said, "I feel like God's given me back my life." But he also made it a point to say that the fear within the community has skyrocketed to a whole new level. And his mother, she expressed absolute horror that this kind of random violence could just happen to an innocent community right on the streets of London. Now, looking into the suspect's background gives us a really vital and honestly surprising piece of context. Police noted the suspect has a history of serious violence and mental health issues, but he had actually been referred to PREVENT back in 2020. If you don't know, PREVENT is the UK government's counterterrorism scheme aimed at stopping individuals from becoming terrorists. But officials stated that his referral case was closed that very same year. After he was discharged from the hospital, the suspect was taken to a London police station. He's currently being held under the Police and Criminal Evidence Act, which most people just call PACE. This is basically the legal framework in England and Wales that governs police powers, specifically when it comes to detaining suspects. So the magic number you need to remember here is 96. Under PACE, the police technically had the authority to hold a suspect for up to 96 hours before formally charging them, as long as they can get a magistrate to approve it. All right, Section 3, a pattern of escalation. Let's dig into the context of the attack. Because here's the thing, this didn't just happen in a vacuum. Between March and April alone, there was an alarming rapid-fire string of vandalism and arson attacks targeting Jewish sites across London. We're talking ambulances owned by a Jewish charity set on fire right in Golders Green, bricks and suspected petrol bottles hurled at synagogues, even an arson attack on a memorial wall. The sheer frequency of these events paints a really troubling picture. And we also have to point out a truly severe, tragic incident from October 2025. Right outside a Manchester synagogue, a horrific car ramming and stabbing attack left 2 Jewish people dead and 3 others in serious condition. This is a stark reminder that this threat and the fear that comes with it isn't just isolated to London. It's a nationwide concern. This grim pattern is exactly why Jonathan Hall KC, who is the government's independent reviewer of terrorism legislation, came out with this striking statement. He pointed out that these multiple attacks are making Brits, whether they're in London, Manchester, or anywhere else, feel like they literally cannot live a normal life. In fact, he categorized these attacks on Jewish people as the biggest national security emergency the UK has faced since 2017. Which brings us to Section 4, the national security response and the broader fallout. Representing Britain's largest Jewish community, Chief Rabbi Sir Ephraim Mervis was incredibly clear in his assessment. He stated bluntly that the community is facing a sustained effort to terrorize them. While he made sure to note the community's resilience, he emphasized that right now, if you are visibly Jewish, you just aren't safe, and that this situation absolutely cannot be allowed to continue. Impartially looking at the political front, Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer strongly condemned the attack. He acknowledged the chilling reality that Jewish people are currently scared to just be who they are in Britain, scared to go to a synagogue, to a university class, or even tell their colleagues they're Jewish. He laid it out firmly. Attacks on the Jewish community are attacks on Britain itself. Meanwhile, speaking to the press in Golders Green, Reform UK leader Nigel Farage took a different angle. He accused the Prime Minister of failing to act, framing the incident as a broader threat to all of society. He posed the question, if one group is currently being targeted to this severe degree, who might be targeted next? And then we have Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood, who has stated she is treating this as a full-blown emergency. She called anti-Semitism abhorrent and stressed her commitment to stamping it out, noting she wouldn't hesitate to act, both in her role as a government minister and personally as a Muslim. Her words really underscore a profound message of shared responsibility. Building on all of this, there's been a massive, concrete development. The official UK terrorism threat level has officially been elevated from substantial to severe. The country hasn't seen this status in over 4 years, and it essentially means intelligence agencies believe a terrorist attack is highly likely. Now, it is absolutely vital to put this into context. The Home Office clarified that they raised this threat level because of an increase in broader Islamist and extreme right-wing threats that have been bubbling up for some time, along with state-linked physical threats encouraging violence. It wasn't just a reaction to this single incident in Golders Green. To tackle the immediate fear on the streets and to protect these targeted groups, the government has stepped in with a whopping £25 million in new funding. This money is earmarked directly for ramping up police patrols and beefing up security around Jewish communities, schools, synagogues, and community centers. So, what does this all mean for the future? As the nation grapples with this severe threat level and throws millions at the problem, how exactly will the UK balance an increasingly complex national security threat with the fundamental, everyday safety of its targeted communities? How do these people rebuild their sense of security just walking down the streets of Britain? It's a huge, complex issue that we will definitely continue to follow. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.